So here talking about the Chidori joint, and I am relatively new to the joint, and I've actually never used it on a project yet. I've only done it for the video Chidori joint part 1 or whatever it's called on YouTube. You may have watched it, but this is a more in-depth look at each one of the pieces that make up the Chidori joint. So I don't have a script, I'm not going by anything, I'm just kind of talking through each of the pieces. And I'm going to just walk you through it verbally this time. If there's any, if there's interest, I can actually go through and make one in a video. So we'll go with this one first. So this is the first one. I took a stab at it, and just so you know, these are all kind of like first shots. These weren't, you know, I didn't hone in anything. You'll notice they're a little sloppy, and actually the whole joint is very loose. There's a lot of ways to do this. I did this all, main tool I used was the table saw, and I did use a dado blade. You may not have a dado blade. I got mine, a cheap one at Harbor Freight. I think it was, oh hell, I don't know how much it was, but it wasn't much. It was enough where I can tear through them and buy another set without too much problem. So I frequently use the dado blade to make table bases where I'm, you know, honking out a bunch of wood at once. You could use it without the dado blade, and if you don't know what a dado blade is, it's a stack of blades that takes out a whole bunch of wood at once. So you could use just a single blade, your typical table saw blade, and go through, you know, make many cuts and then knock them out and then move on to your next cut. I just find that the dado blade just removes a lot of material in short order. So the first one, it started off like this. So I run it through dado blade, and this is just an example. This is one of the other bases that I typically make. So it takes out all this wood. So once this cut was made, then I turned it. So I did this cut, that was what you just saw, and then I turned it, and this opening is half of this whole thing. So you want to kind of mark your opening, take a measurement of whatever wood you're using, and it's half of that. So you're doing half the width and then half the height, I guess, whichever way you're orienting it. So it's half this and half this. So this is a fairly easy one. Once you get your head wrapped around, it takes a little while to figure out what's going on. There was a video on YouTube where it showed a miniature version of this, and I took a lot of stills from that video, and then I just mimicked what that fellow was doing. At some point I'll link to that video, but it was real helpful. So this is your first piece. Second piece, and I'm not going in any order or anything. These are just as I picked them out of the pile here. So this one is a little bit different. It looks pretty close to this one, except for you notice this one's got a curve here, and that's to accept this one, the round part on here, and you kind of got a hinge effect on there when you assemble it. So here again, it's a little sloppy, but it's the same principle where I took care of a lot of material over on this side to get about half or 3/4 of this, where you can take out all the material with your dado blade or regular table saw blade. But then here, because it is a you know, it's meant to be a rounded portion there, so you could use the table saw blade, and I actually think I did that. I backed off the cut little by little as I went into this curve, and then I just tried to, you know, I took a chisel and kind of crudely made the curve. It was really just to get to the point where I could have something working, just to see if it would work, and that's what you see here. But so same principle, I took care of a lot of this, and then this is the same, these two are the same measurement or close to it. And then took out this material here, the rounded one, And then the final piece is this, and this is meant to be as round as possible to fit into that rounded piece I just showed you on the last one. And this one, I think I did something similar where basically started with, again, this isn't a piece of the Chidori joint, but this is just to show you. I started by taking out this material here, and then I turned it on its side and ran it through, and then took out this other half of material. So now I was just left with a square of material here. And then after that, I did use, you'll notice it's round, and there's a little bit of a gap there, about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And I did trim that down with the dado blade here and squared it off a little below, and then just did use a chisel to kind of make that crude round portion that you see here. So it's really, you know, like I say, it's crude, but it does fit into the other piece, and that's all you're going for. I mean, the joint itself, you can make it, I mean, I'm not a big joinery guy, but you can make this as beautiful as you want. But at the end of the day, it's all going to be hidden within that Chidori joint when it locks together. So it's impressive to show and everything. It's fun to put together, but if you're going to make tables with it and actually use it in some kind of practical manner, it's going to be hidden. So it's, once you do it, I imagine once you do a couple, it's going to get real easy, because once you get used to the pattern, I think you can knock through these pretty quick. So let me try and assemble this. So if you saw the other video, and it's been a while since I put this together, but